Mr. Chairperson, Mr. Idris Sow, Mr. Hatim Saim, Vice Chairperson of the Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted at the onset of my statement to express to your August Commission the salutations and appreciation of the Arab Republic of Egypt, and to stress its keenness to ensure constructive collaboration with the entire African human rights system based on its belief in our joint destiny, in that human rights is the main pillar for sustainable development and also the strengthening of or consolidation of stability on our continent. I would also like to express the congratulations of the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, the head of the Human Rights, Permanent Human Rights Commission in Egypt, on your election at the helm of the Commission, and Mr. Hatim Saim, Vice Chairperson of the Commission, and I wish you success and Godspeed in your new function. I also extend my gratitude to the members of the elected bureau for the efforts they have made. The previous bureau for the efforts they have made during their function, and the efforts they have made in order to improve situation in Canada. Egypt, since the proclamation of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, in its belief the ability, capacity of the human rights system, and we are proud of the achievements of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, in addition to the role of the Commission to spread the culture of human rights on the continent. Egypt is proud of its contribution to the Commission previously through Mr. Badawi Asher, who was once chairperson of the August Commission, and also the former foreign minister who also was a member of the Commission. Egypt is presenting its combined report 2011 and 18 in line with the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, and its continuation to interact with the regional mechanisms, and based on its strong commitment to the provisions of the Charter. And this report highlights the major developments in the area of legislation and general policies and practical practices over the period of 2018 to 2024, based on our aspiration to be in line with the guidelines of your Commission, based on our previous report and our keenness to strengthen what has been achieved so far. Mr. Chair, over the past years, we have witnessed a new stage with regard to human rights in Egypt, which is characterized by efforts in terms of legislation to ensure sustainable and comprehensive development for all citizens without discrimination. And in 2020 and 2021, the country launched the National Strategy on Human Rights. From 2021-22 as the national strategy that is comprehensive in this regard. The broad participation of government institutions and civil society, and with the presence of the head of state, just to stress the country's commitment, political commitment, on its four arms of government, which covers political rights, cultural rights, and social rights, and women's rights, and children's rights, and rights of older persons and the handicapped. And the purpose is to spread the culture of human rights. The Permanent Commission of Human Rights at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, together with all other relevant ministries, and establish a technical body that is responsible for the supervision and monitoring of Egypt's commitments and obligations at the international level and continental level, and gather data and analyze information and follow up recommendations that stem from the various mechanisms and provide technical assistance for government bodies in order to promote and protect human rights. Mr. Chair, Egypt believes that human rights development is important, and the guarantee of these rights helps the citizen to enjoy all forms of rights. So this period covered by the report has witnessed many legislations with Egypt's commitment in line with the African Charter. More than 20 laws and acts have been adopted, and we would like to indicate that earlier, we also submitted a report on the rights of the child and on the African protocol on the older persons and persons with disabilities. So, in line with support of freedoms, Egypt has taken comprehensive steps in order to promote political dialogue, and this national dialogue comprises political parties, unions, civil society, in order to arrive at national agreement on general activities. And the civil society in Egypt has been quite open when the new policy in 2019 and the executive guidelines and organize the reception of assistance externally, and also there was agreed, and over 35,000 NGOs have been established, and in 2022 was launched as the civil society year. It's an indication to as a major partner when it comes to the promotion of human rights. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Egypt give priority to human rights and the rights of the person with disabilities and older persons. So there are legislation to put an end to FGM and also sexual harassment, and enable and empower women to occupy positions and to represent about 25% in the National Assembly and 5% in the Senate. And also the persons with disabilities have also been the beneficiaries of a special fund that is more than 1 billion Egyptian pounds, and there is measures to eliminate about 10% of unemployment by 2024, and to increase the minimum wage several times in both the public and private sector, and social protection through many programs that cover over 5 million households, and the expansion of health services that cover over 100 million areas. As for education and health, there is gradual medical coverage in all medical units, with the increase in life expectancy and the decline in child mortality. And there are many schools and classes that have been built, and the support for thousands of children, especially those who have disabilities, and link their graduation with the job market. Mr. Chair, Egypt has been keen to ensure that human rights are in line with its national priorities. And the National Human Rights Strategy has come up with a framework that is in line with the national policy and is in line with the 2020-2030 vision for sustainable development. So in this regard, Egypt continues to interact with continental and international mechanisms and also provide develop ties with the Commission on Human and People's Rights and promote dialogue in the implementation of its commitment. Allow me, Mr. Chair, first of all, to highlight to you the major aspects of the national policy. But before I do so, allow me to introduce to you members of the the Egyptian delegation. Ambassador Kaudo Harif, the ambassador of Egypt to the Gambia and Senegal, and also Cape Verde, and Mr. Adila Sarafi, assistant to the foreign minister for international cooperation, Ahmad Saada, the technical director for the technical fund for the support of social bodies, and also Mr. A gentleman from the Ministry of Defense and a member of the Permanent Human Rights Commission, and so Mahmoud Khalifa, advisor from the Minister of Justice, and Mr. Diyar Din Abdelaziz, the head of the department in charge of human rights, and Mr. Freire, staff member of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and second secretary and third secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Idris Sow, chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Commission, Egypt has signed the African Charter in 1981 and was ratified on 27 February 1984, and this was published in the Gazette in April in 1992, and covers this report covers the combined reports, the 12 and 18 submitted to your August Commission to cover 12 to 8, 19 to 2024, and it highlights the major developments that took on legislations and practices concerning the implementation of the Charter, and the Human Rights Commission has done this in line with various reports as follows its function also, and this commission works on the promotion of human rights, and the major policies on human rights is to prepare the national strategy, the first strategy on human rights from 2021 to 26, launched by the head of state, President Hafez Sisi, on 16 September 2021. And this is a clear indication in our national policy to promote and protect human rights, since the document represents the first national framework that has been prepared and implemented. And this strategy has adopted an advocation, and that comprises 4 areas: civilian rights, and also socio-economic rights, and women's rights, and older persons' rights, and capacity building in the area of human rights. And it is implemented through areas of implementation, and that is legislation development, institutional development, empowerment, and also education. This first strategy is based on the implementation of the recommendations from human rights organization, international and continental, and also the implement the Constitution and also the National Commission on Human Rights. So this strategy comprises at its launch 220 objectives that represent and have been prepared and drafted so
The President of the Republic has given instruction to start the preparation of the human rights strategy, and that is being done in consultation with all the stakeholders, especially civil society, in order to ensure the continuation and then the consolidation of achievements and ensure sustainable protection of human rights. We've also have with us a copy of the report which we will submit to the Secretariat, and we are ready to prepare the second National Human Rights Strategy, which relates to the final recommendations, which is based on the final recommendations of the treaty, as well as a total national, regional, and international review of instruments. And during the reporting period, we adopted the many laws and legislation to ensure the protection of human rights. And I can mention the law on social security, the law on pension, the right of older persons, the right of persons with disability, the rights of foreigners, and also we pass laws on the protection of children. And there are also legislative measures to ensure fair trial. And we've also adopted laws that are not simple legal text, but in addition to adoption of these laws, amounts have also been allocated in order to scale up the means for ensuring justice delivery to all. A lot of mechanisms for implementation have been put in place, and this has led to the scaling up of training in order to implement these laws in terms of policies and programs of the government in order to realize the laws contained in the charter, especially the charters of the African Union. We have put in place a lot of measures, and we have also launched and implemented the national program for decent accommodation. And since we started that in July in 2021, we've had 3 stages, which involve 4,800 villages and 28 small villages, and these were implemented in the various regions of Egypt. Chairperson, the cost of this project is about 500 billion Egyptian pounds, and it will be implemented. It's been implemented up to the next couple of years, and this will also ensure that we roll out electricity to ensure decent living standards for our people. And the Ministry of Economic Affairs and the UN also helped us a lot in this area, and we've also made use of assistance and development programs made available by the UN. We also have the Egyptian Sustainable Project, and the project emphasizes development and the relations between the various dimensions of economic, social, cultural development. And a lot of strategies have also been put in place to monitor performance. And the 2030 vision of Egypt is in line with the provisions of Agenda 2063 of the African Union and the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. During the reporting period, we also adopted a raft of national strategies to disseminate the principle of human rights in relevant areas, and we've had more than 80 strategies. From the third national strategy to prevent human trafficking, we've also put that in place, and we also have national strategy for the development for child development, and we also have a national plan for vocational training, as well as education for all. And we are also scaling up efforts to combat corruption. And these are some of the examples that I can mention by way of our strategies. Egypt has also reinforced its policies and practices to ensure non-discrimination for all categories in the public sector, and women in particular substantially benefit from these policies, and we've also ensured that women are involved in decision making, and we've also ensured the equal and substantive participation of women in elected positions. In the civic and political sector, we are putting in place all the necessary measures to ensure that citizens are able to exercise their fundamental rights, especially the promulgation of the electoral law, the law relating to political parties, the law on parliament, and we've also put in place a whole raft of measures relating to parliamentary and presidential elections, and we've had 160 women parliamentarians. So this means that about 27% of members of parliament and 133 youths of less than 40 years are members of parliament. We also have Egyptians with disability and who are also covered under this law, and 280 political parties also ensure that there is inclusivity, and we've in the coming months we are going to organize elections. I also want to state that effectively we are on September and October we will have the elections to the Senate, and there are 140 women and 35 youth of less than 40 years and 25 Christians who are members of the senatorial body. And we've had also the presidential elections. We had the previous elections, we had 4 candidates, and President Sisi won the elections. And so women are playing active role in the elections, and there is also the participation of many international and regional and local organizations who supervise, who are involved in monitoring these elections. In the area of freedom of expression and regarding prisoners, we have put in place strategies to improve conditions in prison and also to reduce congestion, and there has been qualitative improvement in the infrastructure of prisons, bringing them in line with international standards. And we've also shown that all the prisons and all these areas comply with modern standards required for prisons, and we've also put in place laws for these centers in order to facilitate the reintegration of prisoners. And so there has been improvement, and we have been implementing the Mandela rules with the help of the United Nations. Also, regarding remand, the steps have been taken to improve upon, and also to apply non-custodial sentences in order to reduce overpopulation in prisons. And we've also improved the system, taking into account the technical and human dimension, and we've also ensured that all have access to justice. And we work, of course, continually to improve the judicial services, and we've also trained the various magistrates. During the reporting period, we had 444 training sessions organized, and 1,088 judges were trained, and a lot of courts were also, officials of courts also benefited from it. And all this is meant we've also improved upon our court infrastructure to ensure that we make use of electronic equipment in the court. And in the area of justice, the level of implementation of court decisions during the reporting period regarding civilians, we saw 180% increase in implementation. Now, with respect to first instance court, we had 100% implementation rate, and at the economic courts, the sentences amounted to 70% implementation rate. Now, on press laws, the press also ensure equal access to information, and journalists cannot be prosecuted for doing their work in line with the laws of the Republic. And of course, there are issues which have had nothing to do with the quality of journalism, and everything is done in order to regulate information and to ensure that we maintain the principles of democracy and the right to information. The report submitted to you mentions the quality of information, because, of course, there are more than 585 newspapers, and we have about 170 print and electronic media, and we also have about 14 television channels. With respect to information, all ministries, government services, and information centers the Council of Ministers also provide all information and statistics. They are made public, and this information can be obtained on the internet website and the official, and in the official journal, and on internet also. All decisions made by the government, they are made available on the internet, and we also have used electronic media in order to disseminate information relating to the government, and everyone can access this website in order to submit questions and requests for clarification regarding the government's decisions. We have also put in place channels in order to receive all complaints from the public. We have a mechanism for receiving complaints, and this is at the office of the Prime Minister, and we also have at the police centers, but at the police stations, and we also have electronic means to reach the prosecutors, and then the Parliament and the Senate also have put in place mechanisms in order to bring to the attention of the officials attacks against civilians, especially women. And there are also UN mechanisms and regional mechanisms, and the Council of Ministers has to submit a report on the complaints, and the report also informs of the measures taken to deal with the complaints. The Council of Ministers has also established a platform of dialogue to
sustainable development. As for the formation of unions, there is a national policy on 20 after consultation that comprises more than 1,300 non-governmental organizations, both for external and internal. And there was a legislation, a new legislation with regard to the organization, and there is a guarantee of associations and institutions, and all sanctions that are against freedoms that are eliminated, and is the establishment of digital platform to help civil society to coordinate activities, and there is a digital system to facilitate civilian work and provides services, and the management of complaints, and national institutions, non-governmental, now stand at 35,770 organizations, and all the documents necessary digitally to cover 34,000 institutions and non-governmental foreign NGOs have also been approved from 2020 to 2024, and over 4 billion Egyptian pounds have been allocated, and Egypt continues its efforts in the area of religious freedoms, and this is a major area that is given priority by the government, given the fact that it is a major pillar for social stability, and Egypt has made significant progress in the protection and consolidation of religious freedoms through tolerance and equality before the law. And this progress has covered many developments in terms of legislations and government institutions, and religious freedoms have also been introduced in the educational sector in order to strengthen human rights values and principles, and this, the stress on equality and also sovereignty. As part of the efforts to develop houses of worship and documents in this area, which ensures the legal aspects of these institutions, and the number now stand at well, the approvals, and they stand at 360 churches, and as for the sacred families, and also the families that perform pilgrimages are many, and there are also Jewish cemeteries and so on, and many measures have been taken to fight against extremism, terrorism, in collaboration with the Azhar Observatory in the fight against terrorism, and to promote tolerance and acceptance of the other person, and to fight against hate. As for the right to asylum, in this regard, there are many challenges that we face, and the complications, especially from some neighboring countries, because of instability in the region. This has led to the increase and waves of refugees to Egypt, and this has increased significantly, and asylum seekers. At the International Organization of Migration, Egypt is now third worldwide among the countries that receive more requests for asylum seekers. In the face of the challenges in our report, Egypt hosted over 10.3 foreign refugees, whether regular or irregular, and asylum seekers, and more than from 260 nationalities. And Egypt is keen to ensure them basic services and their integration into society. And there is a policy that is implemented to ensure that there are no camps and, they are instead of attending these policies and to ensure that children have enjoy services equally, and medical services are provided comprehensively, and they are included in health services campaigns provided by the government. And it's a new legislation that organizes or govern foreign for asylum seekers and also migration to Egypt. And an improvement of the Convention of 1951, and that ensures their rights that are guaranteed under this agreement. And the law has established a law that governs the request for asylum under a judicial supervision, and give priority also to the handicapped, older persons, and women also, and victims of the human trafficking. And many other areas. And the law also states and comprises many areas and identifies very areas, also many areas, and for them also there are facilities for them to obtain Egyptian nationality. And there is another law that is prepared is as for socio-economic and cultural rights and the right to employment. Law 14 or Act 14 in 2024 that governs employment. That any employment that creates discrimination in terms of training and the job application, and also rights with regard to the right to employment based on creed, race, color, or language, or disability, or social category, and so on, or for any other reason that affects the principle of equality and equal opportunities. And discrimination is not limited to anything, and it is determined based on laws that that govern the rights of women and also persons with disabilities. And the law also contain areas concerning employment. If the chair can request the Honorable Minister to reduce the speed at which he's reading his document. And I will highlight some areas of the law, the employment law regarding human rights. And it has been implemented. It entered into force in 2024-25, and to ensure balance and equilibrium between the employer and the employee, in order to ensure the protection of human rights and the right to employment, and also equal employment, and the right to join unions, and the protection of the rights of migrant workers. And there is a law that ensures also trilateral dialogue, and it has been discussed in line with the Geneva Convention with regard to all agreements. That's about 36 of them that Egypt has ratified. And the legislators under this law have ensured that they are in line with basic laws and that ensures equal rights and eliminate discrimination, and also fight against forced labor and child labor, and to also fight against sexual harassment at the workplace, and provides professional health through the participation of unions. So whatever their level in amicable settlement and mediation, to make the law in line with legislative institutions. And the new law also stressed the need to organize social dialogue. So it has established the Supreme Council for Dialogue and has been given a special budget separate from the government budget to ensure its autonomy. And this law is applied on migrant workers and are socially protected regardless of their way of their entry into the house. And it covers migrant workers in the informal sector. And they are helped to improve their skills. And there is also equal wage for also women, and women have been given rights that protect motherhood and to ensure their health and fight against all forms of child labor, and has specified the age of employment at 15 years, and also integrate persons with disabilities in the job market. The law also comprises mechanisms with regard to minimum wage, and this comprises structures of dialogue, and the law also mentions the right to strike, which covers all the rights of workers, whether economic or social and cultural, and this in line with the ILO board of expertise. And for example, the condition of the union's agreement is a requirement, and also the right to go on strike, and the elimination of the dismissal of workers as a result of strike. And there are many instruments, that is the establishment of special offices for the private sector, and to ensure professional health for employees, and the establishment of workers or labor tribunals, and the application of sanctions on the perpetrators. And the government has reduced unemployment from 24% to 6.4% by 2024, and the minimum wage has been increased 4 times, and the launch of the national policy on employment, and the national policy on employment has already been launched, and there are laws also that govern the supply and demand, and it's about 24 trainees needed by the job market, and about 30,000 persons with disabilities to be employed, and there are will be many opportunities in the 4 years. As for health, welfare and care, there is a law that ensures medical care that ensures quality, and the government budget ensures that there is right for health with special budgets. And we have figures which we will give to the Secretariat, and the bank has come up with a host of initiatives to ensure the right to health. And the population of Egypt now stands at 107 million, but there are measures to ensure services everywhere, and 14 initiatives that provide about 218 million services and 94 million beneficiaries through many units. And there are judicial services in order to detect anemia and many other diseases, like also the health of mothers and the embryo, and postnatal and prenatal care provided everywhere. And also and there are also allocations, finance allocation of about 19 billion sterling, while it was less than that in the previous year. And about 30.4% million decisions have been issued that about 10 million citizens are benefited from that, and the provision of comprehensive health care in 9 provinces. And about 6 million inhabitants have benefited from such measures, and over 600 operations that have been launched for healthcare. And the national strategic policy, health policy of Egypt 2024-2030, that stressed the enjoyment of the population from all facilities, and to ensure human development. And Egypt has ensured sustainable development by reducing maternal mortality, and has also taken measures to fight against malaria, and implemented WHO standards to become the first country that has attained this level by 2024. And Egypt has provided treatment for hepatitis C also, and medical services also free. As for the right to education, there is a strategy policy to improve education in general, and this strategic plan is based on many policies. And the most one is to provide opportunities for all the population, and targeting poor areas, and the improvement of services, educational services, by providing curriculum that are in line with international standards. And in the area of cultural rights, Egypt is made sure that the national heritages are protected, and and they cover, for example, the pyramids in Luxor and many areas, and health areas in Gizeh and so on. And these in all areas, and there are areas that are covered all over the place. As for the rights of the woman, there are efforts by Egypt to ensure there are also measures issued by the head of state and the National Assembly to ensure equality when it comes to the penal code. And there is a national observatory for the rights of women to empower women from under Vision 2020 and 2030. And there are about 47 centers to ensure the empowerment of women in order to reduce the gap between the two gender. Compared to the center working in this regard. And there are 27 centers to represent women in the National Assembly, and there are many areas as well as its establishment of 19 centers in this regard. for the employment of women, and, and there has been improvement compared to the past. And there is a judge as the vice president of the that's about 3,551 members by 2023, and about 137 judges and women represent by 2017 have occupied about 18 positions in the ministries and also the National Assembly. These data are done and provided based on United Nations requirements, and there is also measures to fight against harassment, sexual harassment, and violence against women. And in September, the Minister of Justice, for the first time, opened two chambers for women that are victims of violence in the courts of Cairo, in collaboration with the UNODC, in order to guarantee their privacy and based on the Constitution. And the law on nationality that prevent women to give nationality to her children. And in the area of the rights of the child, there are many national plans to ensure the National Committee on Motherhood and children, and there are general policies in this regard, and there is a national policy to the development of early childhood, and this is an experiment prepared in collaboration with UNICEF and has been successful in terms of at the regional level, and there is a policy on the child welfare and in line with the national policy on the child and children, and there are committees that receive regarding children's rights and the protection of children, and there are hotlines to receive messages about violations against the children, and when 33 courts and tribunals have been established for children all over the country, and the national plans to fight against child labor, and there is a fight against child labor to eliminate it by the end of the year, and there are many laws that fight against child labor. As for early child, that is, there is a national policy for the development of the child in general. And as part of there is a host of sensitization programs that target schools and families to ensure the poor utilization of the internet and the protection of children and the right of children to participate and empowerment of the girls and the children at the youth parliament in Egypt, and also there is a policy on the older persons in 2024 and the improvement of services for the older persons and for their welfare, and there is a special team for homeless adults in order to receive the proper care and to receive complaints concerning the older persons at the Ministry of Social Welfare. And there is funds provided at about 14% of the 4% of the budget, and they are provided with public transport, and especially for those who are more than 64 years old. And there is a care is provided to them at their homes in general. And in the area of persons with disabilities, there is a national strategy on people with disabilities. So there is a special policy for experts to help these segments of society. And in this regard, there's a law, a law that amends the law on persons with disabilities to provide care and welfare in all areas. And the government provides about funds for 1 to 1.5 million and has established factories for the handicapped for to be training, and also integrated services for 1.5 million people with disabilities. As for empowerment and the integration in the job market, there are 14,000 job opportunities by January to date, and the Ministry of Employment since October until the first half of 2024 has trained persons with disabilities and has intensified its work and also to ensure employment for those people according to the law to require the private sector and public sector that employs more than 20%. And the allocation of seats at the National Assembly, there's about 20 of them. And political participation is also facilitated for their electoral participation, and are provided also voters' cards through Braille, and there are sign language that is sign language communication at voting electoral stations. And then in 22 there is also there are guidelines based on the circular financing in order to integrate the informal sector and make it become formal, and also help to eliminate pollution and meet international environmental standards. And this would help to ensure the green transition and to ensure sustainability. And Egypt in this area of environment has ratified climate change conventions, and Egypt has hosted the UN Code 27 on climate change in the past years. And they deal with the challenges related to climate change and concentrate on developing countries that are more affected by climate change. And there are measures and projects on the ground to adapt to climate change. The government has also adopted a strategic vision that is ambitious when it comes to transport, that is designed to improve transport services and to ensure green transport, because it is fundamental when it comes to sustainable development as part of the government's policy to ensure digital infrastructure and fight against health hazards in this area. And these measures had helped to eliminate pollution in general. With regard to what has been achieved, the Ethiopian dam in this area, Egypt has come up with decisions. Egypt, the River Nile is a right to all neighboring countries, and that the joint, what our common resources should be exploited equitably. So we are surprised by the Ethiopian refusal to implement international law in this regard, and also to say that there is sovereignty right in the use of water resources. And they insist that they have the right to use this right on the river, and that Egypt has agreed on of dam, and this is totally inaccurate, and would like to indicate that we did not receive during the negotiations that took about 19 years regarding the dam, we did not receive any studies on their socio-economic impact on the countries of the Nile, and the three countries have decided to conduct studies. But after 1 year of discussing the issue, we have not agreed because of the position of Egypt that cannot be understood. We then reject unilateral move with regard to the construction of the dam. So this has affected adversely both Egypt and Sudan. Ladies and gentlemen, the content of this report in terms of recommendations reflect the achievements that have taken place, and Egypt seeks to establish a country that is based on the rule of law with human rights, and its efforts to overcome current challenges, and will do everything in order to consolidate its cooperation with its international partners, because human rights is a requirement that requires joint efforts. In conclusion, Egypt would like to transform challenges into opportunities, especially in the area of digital reform and climate change and human rights. And we look forward to constructive dialogue with your commission on this report in order to benefit from the experience of the commission to deal with our areas of concern when it comes to implementing these agreements. And we look forward to recommendations that will help to promote relations between the commission and Egypt in the interest of the African person. We thank you for your kind attention.